Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to my channel. If you are new, welcome. If you're coming back, welcome back. I'm so glad to have you. My name is Cassie, and on this channel, we talk all things of healing, self-love, and self-care, and of course, becoming your dream woman. And on today's episode, we are going to talk about why healing changes everything and why time never did. I used to think that I didn't need to heal my trauma. I really believed that, oh, this is just who I am. Either you accept it or you don't. And honestly, I had a really bad attitude about this whole healing thing. This was years ago, before the healing was actually even somewhat normalized, before it was even really part of a conversation. Back then, nobody really talked about trauma. Nobody healed. You just lived with it and accepted it and moved on. But I was actually brainwashed into believing that time would make things go away. The saying, time heals all wounds. But let me tell you something right now. That is one of the biggest lies we've ever been told. Time didn't heal anything. Time may have softened the punch a little, but it never removed the wound. It was still there. It lived in my subconscious mind, and it lives in yours as well. And because it lives there, it controls everything. It controls your self-esteem, your confidence, or even the lack of it. It shows in how you show up in the world, who you attract, who you accept or what you accept, and what you think that you can fix. And the wild thing is, we don't even realize that it's happening because no one ever taught us this. We were never educated on how trauma actually works. Some of us were even told healing was unnecessary or weak or even pointless. So we just kept living on autopilot, letting unhealed wounds run our lives. If you are struggling with your self-concept or self-worth, if you are believing that you'll never amount to anything, if you are feeling that life is just what it is and you just have to accept it, that's not random. If you're not getting the promotions that you want, if you keep on attracting the wrong partners into your life, and you keep settling for less than what you know that you deserve, that all comes back to how you actually perceive yourself. And how you perceive yourself is shaped by how you were treated in childhood or even adults, like in teenage years, how you were spoken to, what you experienced in your childhood, and what you learned about love, safety, and worth. Healing isn't about blaming the past. Healing is about freeing your future. And we all have a responsibility to heal ourselves. Once we start to, heal ourselves, it changes our whole lives. But part of the healing is that you have to retrain your brain, right? Instead of saying healing isn't important, you have to start saying healing can be life-changing. And I need this. And you need this not just for you, but for your children, your future, and or your current, for your family, and for your relationships in general. I want to be very clear here. I am the only one in my family who has gone through this deep healing, and I've seen the difference in my children, in my relationships, how I see even myself. I show up in the world very differently now. This isn't theory for me. This is my lived experience. So don't be afraid to heal. Don't be ashamed that you have to heal. Don't be afraid to feel those ugly, uncomfortable, painful emotions, even if you have to feel them a couple more times. Because on the other side of that pain is freedom. Healing is freeing, and you need to be free. Free from survival mode, free from repeating cycles, free from carrying wounds that were never yours to carry in the first place. God didn't create us to live weighed down, to live in a scarcity mindset. He didn't create us to live in bondage of our past. Right now, many of us are living the life the world created for us. But we are being called into living the life that God has created for us. And let me say, healing isn't just for women. Men need this healing too. We see the impact of unhealed men everywhere. Men who were never taught how to process emotions, men who were wounded and never supported, and men showing up with heavy, very misdirected energy because of how they were raised. This affects relationships, families, and society as a whole. We don't need fear of healing. We need to normalize this for everyone. And this season of healing is a blessing, a very transformational blessing. And sometimes transformation can feel heavy, can feel hard, right? Why we're going through it. So just know that this isn't going to be an easy transition or an easy transformation, but it's going to be a long lasting one. So, but it's only going to be long lasting if we choose to heal. So let's stop being afraid of healing. Let's stop avoiding the work that sets us free. Let's normalize healing even more than we already are, for ourselves, for our children, and for our future generations. Because when you heal, you don't just change your life, you change everything that is connected to you. And that is so powerful. That is the life that God has created us to live. So let's stop allowing the worldly ways to control our lives, and let's start living our lives freely and in a godly way so that we can feel good and more fulfilled and joyful in our lives. Because let me just tell you, the world is a mess, and that's not because we are, all healed and stuff like that. It is because we are living in our wounded selves, and we continue to think that the worldly ways are going to solve our problems. But unfortunately, they're not. These problems just keep on getting bigger and getting more out of control. So it's time for us to take back control of our lives and stop allowing everything and everyone else to control it. So I love you and happy healing, and let's do this together, baby. See you in the next one. Bye.